Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and it's Wednesday, September 2nd, and it is 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, I know I'm getting a late start again, but, I guess you've come to expect that. So let's get into the news, and I do have some people to thank tonight, first of all, because this is what makes the program possible, and I appreciate it very much. Now, some of you were asking where the coffee donation link is. It's always in the description along with everything else. There's a link to my book. There's a link to t-shirts and so forth, and just a link to Patreon and coffee. And thank you guys so much for taking me up on my offer, because several people switched their monthly giving from Patreon to coffee, and that makes a difference for me because Patreon does keep a portion of whatever, and coffee does not. Every bit, every cent goes to the creator. So if you give $3, I get $3. So yeah, thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. Anyway, I want to thank the following people. Leopard Woman, she gave a monthly donation through coffee. C, and that's an interesting moniker. Just C, that's it, just C. Trumps for Life, and thank you so much for that generous donation. I really, really appreciate that. Not that I don't appreciate all donations, I really do. And please, I would just like to reiterate, because one of you sent me a message and said, I only make this much and this is all I can give. But really, for what you make, what you're giving is generous. And I don't ever want people, I want people to make sure that they have enough for themselves and are giving out of their abundance and not out of their need. So anyway, thank you guys. So also Jennifer Manchester switched to coffee for her monthly donation. Dwayne Schultz donated via coffee. T-Rose Dreams switched hers to monthly. And Dave B, he is contributing monthly through coffee. Also, Kimberly Gambita from Bradenton, Florida, she gave a one-time donation. Mary Beth Davis, and also Mary. So thank you guys so very, very, very much. Times have been a little tough here recently, so I really appreciate it. Also picked up a new Patreon subscriber, Pamela Dean. So thank you all, guys. I appreciate it, and you always keep me laughing with your comments and so forth. So I just enjoy, I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy interacting with you guys. Sometimes it feels like I'm just in my living room talking to myself, but I don't really feel like that, because I know so many of you through your comments and emails or whatever. So I feel like I'm actually talking to you guys, and I hope that you feel that way as well. Anyway, why don't you just sit back and relax and put your feet up, grab yourself a diet beverage or a Coke or whatever you want, tea, coffee, and sit down and relax. Light the fire. Yeah, well, maybe not. It's probably too warm wherever you are. But anyway, let's get on with the news, because there's lots of news. There's always lots of news. Now, let's look at this first. This made me very sad because I've been there, and my dad was a massive Elvis Presley fan when he was alive. I mean, when my dad was alive, he was a big fan of Elvis Presley. And it's funny because near here, there's a little town called Tweed. And every year they have an Elvis festival, and some of the best Elvis impersonators from all over come. And last year, a couple friends of mine convinced me to go. And I thought, okay, I'm not really, I like Elvis. It's not, but I'm not into seeing impersonators, but I had a blast. So anyway, this kind of struck me a little hard because my parents had been there so many times to Graceland, and I've been there, and it was sad for me to see that it's been vandalized because, Elvis Presley, you don't get much more American than that, do you? So Elvis Presley's Graceland has been vandalized with graffiti messages, including defund the Memphis Police Department, abolish ICE, and Black Lives Matter. So, it seems like no place is sacred anymore. There's no statues or monuments or anything that are sacred anymore, and not even Graceland. And I think that is very, very sad. They are saying that repairs are estimated to cost around $150,000. I wish I had more money. I would send some to them for restoration, because I do believe that is an important American. I don't know. I guess it's an important American destination. I mean, really, what is Memphis without Elvis? So anyway, let's come down here. It says the walls outside of Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee were tagged with graffiti by vandals on Sunday with phrases like Black Lives Matter and no justice, no peace. Graceland is a site where rock legend Elvis Presley formerly resided. The Levette Shell stage, an amphitheater where Presley gave his first paid concert, was also vandalized with similar messages, according to Fox 13. Graceland did not comment when contacted about the graffiti. So, yeah, and then it goes into remembering Elvis Presley. But I think probably most of us remember Elvis Presley. I mean, I was very, very, very young when he died, but I still remember him. Crews are cleaning up after someone spray painted the walls of Graceland with messages like defund, Memphis Police Department, arrest Breonna Taylor's murders, and Black Lives Matter, and more. I'll give you a look on Fox 13 Memphis Midday. Well, here are some pictures of the damage, which I think is very, very sad. I really do. Is this really necessary? Really? I mean, so this is some of the damage. It's going to cost, and I'm sure there's probably a lot more than just that, but it's going to cost $150,000 to repair what has been broken. And I'm sure that they have some, I'm sure insurance will cover that. Hopefully. I don't know if insurance covers when there is civil unrest or not. Maybe some of you know the answer to that. I don't, but I would assume that it is, but I'm not sure. So anyway, let's go on now because there's more. And let's look at this. Restaurant fires server who told police detective to quit your job on his receipt. The detective reportedly threw away his food because he was worried something had been done to it. And you know what? I would be too. I'm just being completely honest with you. If I worked for the police and walked into an establishment and they put that on my receipt, I'd be a little worried. Of course, I'd be a little worried, considering everything that's been going on. So, yeah. A restaurant server reportedly lost her job after giving a police detective a snarky tip on his receipt. The server, who worked at the Happy Camper restaurant in the Wrigleyville neighborhood of Chicago, reportedly wrote, "Quit your job," on the detective's receipt on Sunday, according to a photo obtained by local outlet CWB Chicago. The outlet reported that the detective reportedly threw away his order after seeing the note, worried something had been done to his food. And you know what? Yeah, I would be too. So on Monday, Happy Camper posted a statement about the incident on its website and Facebook page, saying it had fired the employee. And, well, that's what should have been done. Our company works incredibly hard to provide a positive and enjoyable experience for all customers, the post said. Upon learning this morning about an incident last night involving a customer, we immediately took action to terminate the employee. And it's not the establishment's fault, because that is something that individual did. It's not really on the establishment. It sounds like they have handled it correctly in terminating the employee. We sincerely and humbly apologize. The action of one does not accurately reflect who we are as a company, the post continued. We have zero tolerance for any behavior that doesn't give our customers the full respect they deserve. In a comment on the post, the restaurant also said it had apologized to the detective, People also know that Happy Camper has reached out to the police officer to personally apologize. It says, please also know that Happy Camper has reached out to the police officer to personally apologize, which is the right thing to do, offer a full refund, and provide a gift card to his restaurant of choice, the comment said. Thanks again to all our customers for your understanding. More than 250 people commented on the post as of Tuesday evening, with many praising the actions of the restaurant. Well, it sounds to me like the restaurant did the right thing, and if that was in my neighborhood, I would still frequent that restaurant, because the actions of one do not necessarily reflect on the opinions of the establishment as a whole. Nice to see a business take the appropriate action, one woman wrote. One employee does not reflect the business as a whole. Another person wrote, good call, absolutely unacceptable behavior. Thank you for holding the employee accountable. I hope the message was loud and clear to the other employees. Well, I hope so too. Now, as I was just reading through this took my eye, because I have this thing for cats, even big cats. I love big cats. So I just saw this, and well, it just sounds like I have to read it. Zoo visitor faces backlash for grabbing tiger's genitals during photo shoot. That is one incredibly stupid thing to do. If you're gonna grab somebody's genitals, make sure it isn't a tiger. Yeah, they don't like that. They don't. One social media called it rude. Well, I have other things that I would call it. Sometimes it's a bad idea. Sometimes a bad idea is a bad idea. A bizarre set of photos uploaded to social media appear to show a woman inappropriately grabbing a tiger at a popular zoo in Thailand. The usual photos immediately sparked a negative response from other social media users who claimed the woman was either mistreating the animal or putting herself in danger. Well, actually, these animals are mistreated. The animals like this, and people pay money to pose with the animals, but they usually drug the animals, and it's not very happy for them. Now this guy looks like he's enjoying a good belly rub, but he's probably, yeah, drugged. The photos were taken at the Tiger Kingdom Zoo in northern Thailand. The New York Post reports the zoo is reportedly a tourist destination where visitors can come and take pictures with the large cat. However, this particular woman, identified as somebody whose name there is absolutely no chance of me being able to pronounce, may have taken things too far, as she appeared to grab the tiger's testicles in several of the photos. She later shared several of the photos to her Facebook page, although they appear to have been taken down. Other photos from the set that don't show her grabbing the animal's testicles, however, still appear on her page. Why on earth would this woman grab the tiger's genitals? I don't know. It's abuse. You don't do that to animals. Leave their genitals alone. However, this particular woman, okay, I just read that, and I'm not going to read it again, and you can't make me. Other photos from the set that don't show her grabbing the animal's testicles, however, still appear on her page. And Facebook users who quick to comment on the photos, calling them rude and inappropriate, according to the New York Post. The tiger did not allow you to touch his privates. You have no right to do that, wrote one person. Another user reportedly added, this is dangerous. If that tiger had reacted angrily, it could have attacked you. Excuse me. In a statement obtained by Newsflare, head zookeeper Piram, again, not a chance I can pronounce that, claimed that the woman's behavior was against the zoo's rules. Well, I should hope it's against the zoo's rules, because I just feel sorry for the animals if it's not. We do not allow tourists to grab the tiger's testicles, but they are allowed to touch any part of the animal's body as long as our specialists are present. He said, from now on, we will make sure that no visitor will ever be able to touch this part of a tiger's body again. Well, I don't know how they're going to prevent that. I guess if they have somebody standing right there, but, and this person asked, and I know that they do this, it says, do they drug these animals for photo shoots? Yes, they do, and it's awful. All right, now, I didn't mean to read that, but I mean, when you see tiger and testicles, I mean, it just, your eyes just go there. All right, I'm just saying. Let's go back here and let's look at this little piece of interesting news. Okay. Tech-savvy trolls send Biden, Trump web traffic from unwanted domains. In both cases, the origin of the redirection and who is responsible for it remains unknown. Some tech-savvy trolls are working their mischief on the dueling presidential campaigns, sending them web traffic from unlikely and unwanted sources. As social media users have noted recently, type Antifa.com in your browser and it redirects to JoeBiden.com. And if one tries ministrokes.com, it goes to DonaldJTrump.com. In both cases, the origin of the redirection and who is responsible for it remains unknown, though it appears to be the work of trolls having fun at the expense of the nominees. In the case of Antifa.com, it comes as Republicans are using it to hit Democratic nominee Joe Biden over his response to violent protests. As for Ministrokes.com, that site popped up after President Trump on Tuesday denied on Twitter that he had a series of mini strokes after the unfounded hashtag Trump stroke hashtag trended on Twitter. Now, his own doctor has come out and denied that and said he is perfectly healthy. Author Don Winslow previously claimed Trump had mini strokes in August, something the White House has vigorously denied, but the claim resurfaced after a new book said Vice President Mike Pence was once on standby to take over the powers of the presidency if Trump had to go under a procedure. No group, Republican or Democrat, has acknowledged buying the Antifa.com domain, and there's no easy way to trace where the redirect came from. The Biden campaign could not be reached for comment by Fox News to see if they were aware of the mysterious misdirection, or redirection rather, but it has been flagged on social media in recent days by Republicans, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who tweeted Monday, click on Antifa.com, adding, tells you all you need to know. Whoops, we couldn't access this tweet. Republican congressional candidate recently tweeted at Biden asking why, if you go to Antifa.com, does it take people to your campaign website? Joe Biden, does anyone believe that there will be less violence in America if Donald Trump is reelected? Let me see now. Yeah, I do. Why, if you go to Antifa.com, does it take people to your campaign website? This person asked. Good question. The Antifa.com redirect has occurred for about the past month, but at times the URL redirected users to KamalaHarris.org and the self-described anarchist website itsgoingdown.org. Antifa stands for anti-fascist and is a group that strongly opposes President Trump. Members of Antifa have been accused of hijacking protests against racial injustice and police brutality to make them violent and destructive. Fox News spoke with Forrester research analyst Randy Hefner, who said that the Antifa.com domain name was associated with the registrar Namecheap.com from 2002. This is a long time ago, but it doesn't mean that whoever registered it back then was in any way associated with or counter-associated, if you will, with Antifa. Hefner said, there are people in the market that prospectively acquire domain names hoping that some future party will want to buy the rights to that domain name at an attractive price. And that's true. That's been well known and that people do that. The party listed as the owner of the domain is WhoIsGuard, which is registered to a P.O. box in Panama. Legal action would likely need to be taken with either Namecheap or WhoIsGuard to divulge ownership info, Hefner said. All that said, even once a domain name is in operation, various kinds of hacks could nefariously redirect it from its intended destination to one of the hackers' choosing, Hefner said. There's a history of the Trump and Biden team using domain names to battle each other. In the new era of digital election battles, the Biden and Trump campaigns have found new ways to troll each other, buying the domain of their opponents' campaign slogans. Just after the Biden campaign rolled out a Latino voter program, the Trump campaign bought the URL of its namesake, Todos con Biden. A visit to Todos con Biden revealed a message in both English and Spanish. Oops, Joe forgot about Latinos. Joe is all talk. The only link on the page redirects visitors to the Trump campaign's Latino outreach site, Latinos for Trump. The Biden campaign returned to fire by buying up VamosToVictory.com. Trump used that phrase last month during a series of campaign events in Texas, which was dubbed the Vamos to Victory Tour. Typing in VamosToVictory.com redirects to TrumpWinsWeLose.com. The Biden campaign also bought KeepAmericaGreat.com after Trump intermittently tried to coin Keep America Great along with Make America Great Again. A visit to the site documents 12 of Trump's alleged promises made, promises broken. So there you go. I guess, boys will be boys. I see that as kind of harmless trolling of one another personally, but it's interesting nonetheless. So let's get out of there and let's go back and see what else we can get into. Well, let's take a look at this. Yeah, well, this is what I was just talking about with Trump's doctor. Now, it says the lies about real Donald Trump's health are disgusting. Here's the truth. As the president's doctor, I knew about this trip weeks in advance, and it had nothing to do with his brain or heart. CNN is using this as a distraction to cover for the cognitively compromised Joe Biden. I would tend to agree with that because I think it's quite evident to see that Trump is in marvelous health. And let's listen to what he has to say here. Have to make it bigger for my tiny phone people.
Hey everybody, Ronnie Jackson here, former physician to President Trump. I just felt like I needed to get online and clear a few things up. I just turned the TV off after watching the latest episode of fake news from the communications branch of the Democrat Party, also known as CNN, and I was somewhat disgusted and horrified with what I heard. I heard people on this network suggesting and implying as if it were fact that President Trump was evaluated last November at Walter Reed for a potential heart attack or a stroke. Now, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I won't get into the president's health. I'm no longer his physician, but I will comment and tell you that I was consulted regarding this trip weeks in advance. This trip was neither urgent nor emergent, nor did it have anything to do with his cerebrovascular or his cardiovascular health. It was part of a routine, planned preventive medicine workup to keep him healthy as president. And I can tell you furthermore, as his physician for 3.5 years prior to that the president is in excellent physical condition. He had a head-to-toe physical workup, including an extensive cardiac workup that put him well within the top 10% of men his age from a cardiac standpoint. So why is the left suddenly talking about this? The reason is they're trying to defer and distract from the obvious mental, physical, and cognitive issues with former Vice President Joe Biden, who is now their nominee for president. They're in trouble, and they're trying to fix it. So I can tell you two things. I can tell you, number one, the president is in excellent mental and physical condition. He will finish this term, and he will finish the 4 years ahead of him in his second term, which he will get. I can tell you, number two, if we don't elect President Trump as our president for this next election, we are in trouble. We are in bad trouble in this country. This country is headed the wrong direction, and the only thing that's going to salvage this country is to give President Trump another 4 years. So I ask you, if you care about safety, security, and prosperity, please go out and vote for President Trump. We have to re-elect President Trump. Thank you.
Now, that is well said, and that should put to sleep any of these rumors. But of course, it won't. It won't, because CNN is not concerned about reporting facts. They're concerned about reporting things that will harm President Trump. So anyway, and I love that Texas accent. I love it. It makes me feel right at home. I lived in the South, the American South, for many years, and loved it. Loved it. and would be there now, except, my mother is elderly and I need to be here right now. So anyway, let's go on now, because there's more. There's always more. All right, so let's look at this. And I hope this gives you a smile as it did me. Antifa commander cried in fetal position after being caught with flamethrower smoke grenades on way to protest. Matthew Banta was previously arrested and posted bond after allegedly pointing loaded rifle at cop. And here he is. A Wisconsin man was caught with a flamethrower, smoke grenades, and fireworks while headed towards a protest in Green Bay over the weekend, WBAY TV reported. Matthew Banta, 23, is charged with obstructing an officer and 2 counts of felony bail jumping, the station reported. He's also known to be a violent Antifa member who incites violence in otherwise relatively peaceful protests, WBAY said, citing a criminal complaint. Believe it or not, Banta also is known as Commander Red, police told the station. Green Bay police told WBAY they were called for a whole bunch of white people with sticks, baseball bats, and helmets headed toward the police on Walnut Street near Webster Avenue on Saturday night. I don't know who comes to a protest with a baseball bat for anything other than criminal or illegal activity, Green Bay Police Chief Andrew Smith noted to the station. More from WBAY, according to a responding officer, said he saw 4 individuals walking toward a protest with baseball bats. One man was wearing a metal helmet with goggles and military-style gear with multiple pouches and was carrying an Antifa flag. When the officer pulled his squad car in front of the group, they ran away. The officer caught Banta, who was carrying the flag, and says Banta dropped into the fetal position and began crying. He accused the officer of lying on him. The officer replied nobody was on him. Banta admitted he was headed to the Green Bay protest, but denied he was planning to incite a riot. The station said, adding that a Brown County court commissioner set a $2,500 cash bond during his initial appearance Monday. It's worrisome when people associated with Antifa come here to Green Bay from out of town for the purpose of protesting here or for the purpose of committing violent acts, Smith told WBAY. You might recall our hero from a report in The Blaze last month. CA police officer said Banta pointed a loaded rifle at him and bit and kicked him. So not only did he point a loaded rifle at a police officer, an officer of the peace, but he bit and kicked him during a Wapaka protest August 1st. Now I'm hoping that since he bit the police officer, that the police officer doesn't have rabies. Let's hope not. Anyway, this is him. Yeah. Banta, according to WBAY's story on last month's incident, was charged with second-degree reckless endangering, use of dangerous weapon, point a loaded firearm at an officer, battery to a law enforcement officer, use of a dangerous weapon, biting an officer, battery to a law enforcement officer, kicking an officer, resisting an officer, use of a dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct, and use of a dangerous weapon. So, a criminal complaint also said a bullet was in the rifle's chamber. WBAY noted, adding that the police found 117 rounds of ammunition on Banta, as well as an 8-inch straight blade knife in a sheath on his belt. While Banta posted $10,000 cash bond after last month's incident, a condition of his bond was not being in possession of a dangerous weapon, the station said, citing the Brown County's district attorney's office. So there you go. And yeah, reportedly, this big tough guy just kind of dropped and curled into a fetal position and cried. I got caught. He's just a whining, sniveling malcontent. That's all he is. And reportedly a big baby. They don't mind when they hurt others, but, just being caught made him dissolve into tears and crawl up into the fetal position. And he probably was sucking his thumb as well. I don't know, but there you go. All right. Now, let's come down to here. Let's look at this piece of ridiculousness. You cannot make this up. DC wants to remove the Washington Monument. Yeah. Gee, what could go wrong? The Washington Monument. Yeah, I know we're all talking about Joe Biden's speech in Pittsburgh, which once again showed that his mind has devolved into applesauce, along with the leftist riots that continue to engulf the nation. But we have new political correctness news. Apparently, a DC committee convened by Mayor Muriel Bowser, of course, who is married to Donna Brazile, if you didn't know, has recommended that the Washington Monument, among other federal memorials in the city, should be marked for removal, relocation, or contextualization. No, you can't make this up. Committee reporting to DC Mayor Muriel E. Bowser recommends renaming dozens of public schools, parks, and government buildings in the nation's capital after studying the historical namesakes, connections to slavery and oppression. The honorees, whom the committee says should not have public works named for them, include Presidents Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, Zachary Taylor, and Woodrow Wilson, Revolutionary leader Benjamin Franklin, inventor Alexander Graham Bell, and national anthem writer Francis Scott Key. We believe strongly that all District of Columbia-owned public spaces, facilities, and commemorative works should only honor those individuals who exemplified those values, such as equity, opportunity, and diversity that DC residents hold dear. The committee's chairs, Bowser's advisor, Beverly Perry, and the public library director, Richard Rees Gavilan, wrote in a letter introducing their report. I think it's time to vote Muriel Bowser out and get somebody in there that has a tiny bit of sense and less Trump derangement syndrome, which he clearly has. Now, Nathan Brand said, this is not parody. The Washington, D.C. government wants to remove the Washington Monument. And yeah, how crazy is that? It is pretty crazy. Christopher Columbus, these are the ones they want to remove. Christopher Columbus, Columbus Fountain, federal. Benjamin Franklin statue, federal. Andrew Jackson statue, federal. Thomas Jefferson, Jefferson Memorial, federal. George Mason Memorial, federal. Francis Griffith Newlands Memorial Fountain, federal. Albert Pike statue, federal. George Washington Monument, George Washington statue, federal. Yeah, they want to remove the namesake of Washington, D.C. Yeah, that's not going to go over well, I don't think. Anyway, Mayor Muriel Bowser said, this July I tasked the DC Faces Working Group with evaluating public spaces to ensure the namesake's legacy is consistent with DC values. They have delivered the report, and I look forward to receiving and advancing their recommendations. Yeah. This is crap, pure and simple. I think you'd all agree with that. This is about the erasure of American history. So for all these folks who decided to sit it out and let these clowns take down Confederate statues because they were bad people, well, this is the only logical conclusion of that push. It was never about the Confederacy. This is about our history, our founding, and the left's prolonged attempt to wipe it away and rewrite it through an insane woke lens. And whether we like it or not, the Confederacy is part of American history. In fact, it's a huge part, being that the Civil War was probably one of the most moral conflicts this nation ever fought. Also, the Confederacy produced some of the finest military officers this nation ever produced. But attacking them was just the first salvo with regards to their real target, Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, and the rest of the founding fathers. Yeah, so there you go. If we let these people continue, they will continue to erase our history and rewrite it. Again, I could not reiterate more. If you have not recently read the book 1984, and you can read it for free online, there are many places where you can get it. Maybe even somebody will post a link to it. Also, you can listen to it online as well. I think probably on YouTube. There probably is a place where you can listen to it as well, if some people prefer to listen rather than read. So yeah, I would really, really strongly urge you to listen to that. because that is where we are right now. That is what's happening. And they are wanting to erase our history and rewrite it. And, you know, history, when history's not remembered, we are doomed to repeat it, definitely. So, yeah, not a good idea by any stretch of the imagination. All right, now let's look at this. All right, boom, President Trump on drug testing Joe Biden. He's on some kind of an enhancement. Yeah, well, he's on something, definitely. Biden is on some kind of enhancement, and we will see what he meant by that in a second. Something is going on with Joe Biden. We can all see it. President Trump sees it too, which is why he is calling for drug tests before the 2020 presidential debates. I think that's a good idea. Last week, President Trump called for Biden to be drug tested before their debates this fall. Now, well, let me finish here and then I'll tell you what I think. On Tuesday, in his interview with Laura Ingraham, President Trump said he believes Joe Biden is on some kind of enhancement. Maybe, you know, the kind that you get from the pineal gland. Yeah, that stuff, you know, the stuff that they make by torturing. Yeah, I'm just wondering if Biden is on that. And I'm wondering if that's why they want to drug test him. I don't know, could be wrong, but I bet you. I watched Biden in the previous debates and he was horrible. And then I saw him in the Bernie debate and he was normal. It was kind of like a normal deal. He got by. And I said that was a different guy than the guy that was in the debate with Kamala. Now Kamala is just horrible. I'll tell you, he's on some kind of enhancement, in my opinion. Yeah, like adreno. Yeah, you can finish that. The Biden camp can deny it, but they will need to prove it with a drug test. And I second that. Now, let's listen to our president right here.
Because they have a lot of lawyers.
They do. They have more lawyers than any human being has ever hired. I don't know who's hiring their lawyer, but the Democrats have lawyers, and we do too. We're in Pennsylvania right now. We're in Nevada right now. We're in all different states fighting this. Everybody knows, including the Democrats, they know more than anybody else. Look at what they, and then they harvest. Harvesting is illegal, except in California. They do ballot harvesting.
Why did you ask for a drug test before the debate? What prompted that with you and Joe Biden?
Because I watched Biden in the previous debates and he was horrible. And I watched him in the Bernie debate and he was normal. He wasn't Winston Churchill, but he was normal. It was sort of like an even deal. He got by it. And I said, that was a different guy than the guy that was in the debates where Kamala just took him apart. Now, Kamala's terrible. She went down from 15 to, I watched her drop like a rock, right? So that's automatically, that's like a poll, okay? She never even got to Iowa. She never even, because she was so low. So that's the person, but she was really mean to him. She said the worst things.
But on Biden, why the drug test? What do you think he's on?
I'll tell you what, well, he's on some kind of an enhancement, in my opinion. And I say we should both. I should take a drug test, so should he. Because we don't want to have a situation where a guy is taking some kind of a...
It's like athletes, like a...
No, he should take, I want to take one. I'll take one, he'll take one. We should both take a drug test.
Wow, good stuff. In moments, more from Laura's news-making exclusive. The president.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good idea. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think it's a wonderful idea because I'm betting that he's on some pretty potent medication, maybe anti-dementia, maybe, you know, the stuff that makes you younger. You know. Yeah. Anyway. Let's go back now and continue on. And let me just check how long I've been going here. Oh, only 38 minutes. My gosh, we've got lots of time. Okay, well, let's look at this now. Shall we? Of course we shall. And we will. And here we go. All right. Okay, now I love President Trump. I think he is the best leader that this country's seen in, well, probably the world's seen. I mean, I've never seen a leader like him, ever. Anyway, Rising Serpent, a guy was executed in the street And you guys are talking about people spray painting each other. You should be ashamed of yourselves. The press is fueling this violence even more so than Biden. Biden doesn't even know that he's alive. So let's listen to this. I'll make it bigger for my tiny phone people. I know, I love y'all. I do.
All they have to do is say, okay, President, now we're ready. Now we're ready. When I watched that scene last night with all of those really horrible people outside of the mayor's house, I also saw the way they shot the young gentleman in the street. He was targeted. They targeted him. They shot him in the street, and then they were so happy and he died. You don't mention that. You mentioned somebody sprayed painted somebody from the other side. They shot a man in the street. They executed a man in the street. A religious man in the street. And you don't mention, it's not even a story. You talk about other things. The press should be ashamed of themselves. I think the press is actually, the media is what's fueling this, more so than even
right.
Biden.
Yes.
Because Biden doesn't know he's alive. The press is really fueling this, and they're fueling it horribly. And you're doing a great disservice to your country. All they have to do is say, okay,
that is very, very true. And that's exactly what they're doing. And it is the media that's fueling this. It's the media and the left that's fueling this. And certainly not President Trump, as they're trying to flip that narrative now, because they're finding out that the rioting and everything, yeah, people don't like that. People, you know, they're kind of partial to having their cities burnt to the ground and their places of employment and their businesses. Yeah, people don't like that. So now they think, oh, gee, we better flip this and convince people that it's Donald Trump doing all this. Yeah. Well, we don't buy it. All right. Now let's come back here and let's look at this. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler moving to avoid rioters targeting his home. Good. Good for him. Because why should the people in that building be put in harm's way because of him? He is a piece of work. Let me tell you, the Democratic mayor of Portland, Oregon is moving from his $840,000 condo to avoid rioters who have repeatedly targeted the building, according to a report. Ted Wheeler wrote to neighbors in his building to say it would be best for me and for everyone else's safety and peace for him to move from the building that rioters tried to torch on his 58th birthday, Monday, according to the Oregonian. I want to express my sincere apologies for the damage to our home and the fear that you are experiencing due to my position, Wheeler reportedly wrote, according to a screenshot of the email. It's unfair to all of you who have no role in politics or in my administration. The mayor, hang on here, the mayor bought his two-bedroom condo in the building with 114 units for $840,000 in 2017, the paper said, citing property records. It has regularly been a scene of protests with fireworks lit and lights shone on the building, as fires also get lit in the streets. Tell you, I wouldn't want to live there. Wheeler has faced harsh criticism for his handling of the protests in the City of Roses for his 97 consecutive nights since George Floyd's police custody death in Minneapolis in May. He has sympathized with protesters, called for cops to refrain from arrests, and also pledged to defund the police. President Trump on Sunday called him a wacky, radical, left, do-nothing Democrat mayor of Portland who has watched great death and destruction of his city during his tenure. Well, if it's true, it's true. And it is true. Portland Police Chief Chuck Lovell used the arson attack on Wheeler's condo building as proof that the nightly violence is coming at increased cost. Our elected officials need to do their part to draw a line in the sand and to hold people accountable, he said, calling for urgent action. The violent behavior must end, the chief said. Wheeler also attacked the acts of senseless violence that range from stupid to dangerous to criminal, while highlighting alleged police brutality and saying he still stands with protesters. Well, they don't stand with you, Ted Wheeler. They don't stand with you. Elected leaders, or those seeking office, who remain silent in the midst of these acts of violence and criminal destruction, are equally complicit, he wrote. The community must rise up and say enough is enough and hold all of us accountable. We cannot truly move on together and make the positive changes we want to see until this violence is stopped, all violence. We cannot allow our anger to destroy what we are trying to support, he said. I stand by our positive movement for the police reform. Yeah, some positive movement. And I stand by the hundreds of thousands of Portlanders who want to peacefully protest and ask for more reform, he wrote. If you are participating in violence, I want to be clear. I denounce your actions. Your actions demonstrate a level of hate and destruction that we will not condone or tolerate. So, seems to me like he's both condoning and tolerating it, right? That's what I would say. But, you know, these guys are great with doublespeak. They speak out of both sides of their mouths. They are duplicitous in every way. And they take after their father, the devil, who is the father of lies. That's right. So, let's move on. I know you're saying, no, Michelle, really, tell us how you really feel. Yeah, you're saying that, right? Okay, now let's take a look at this. Now, source for all this data is available at the CDC and the World Health Organization websites, all right? United States, coronavirus cases, 6,266,023. Deaths, 189,170. Recovered, 3,498,334. Death rate, 3.02. Recovery rate, 96.98%. Now, of course, we know that figure has been revised downward since this. But anyway, percentage of the U.S. population infected by COVID-19, 1.89%. Percentage of the U.S. population that died from COVID-19, 0.06%. Percentage of the U.S. population that died from influenza, 0.02. Percentage of the U.S. population that died from automobile accidents, 0.05. So this data was updated 9/2/2020. So yeah, and for that, we have destroyed the economy, destroyed people's livelihoods, destroyed businesses. And for what? For nothing. That's what. Okay. Now, let's look at this. Now, I got this early this morning, and I haven't had a chance to check up on this, but it says, woman set on fire in Waukesha, one in custody. Police put schools on notice after they responded to reports of a woman being set on fire, which led them to suggest schools be secured. Now, that's a pretty odd thing, but it happened. Waukesha, Wisconsin. A person is in custody after police responded to reports of a woman being set on fire in Waukesha Wednesday morning, which prompted Waukesha schools to be placed on lockout. Waukesha police officials announced Wednesday afternoon that a suspect was taken into custody shortly after 12:30 p.m. in what they are characterizing as an attempted homicide incident. Police have not identified the suspect, who, as of Wednesday afternoon, had not been formally charged. Police declined to give more specifics about the incident as they continue to collect evidence. However, witnesses told police that a woman was set on fire in an unprovoked attack by the suspect, which promoted Waukesha schools to be placed on lockout Wednesday morning. Police notified the school district about the incident about 9:40 a.m. and indicated that the incidents were occurring within the city of Waukesha. Now it says incidents. It doesn't say incident. It says incidents were occurring within the city of Waukesha and the township of Waukesha. Police advised that the district put certain schools on lockout, according to an email to parents from the district's deputy superintendent. Waukesha police said on their social media channels Wednesday morning that they were investigating 2 suspicious fires in the area and that, as a precaution, the schools were put on lockout. Officials later reported that at 8:47 a.m., officers responded to a report of a woman being set on fire in the 400 block of Lake Street. Police said in a news release. Police said the victim was taken to an area burn center. And at 9:12, Waukesha police and fire officials were called to Foxville Court, where an 83-year-old man had been hit by a vehicle driven by a 39-year-old male, officials said in a news release. Upon investigation, officials determined that the 39-year-old man acted alone in setting two vehicles on fire, one of which was in a garage and another which was in the driveway. Authorities also believe that the man also set a workshop on fire, which caused significant damage. The vehicle fires were extinguished by the homeowners, but the workshop fire needed to be extinguished by firefighters. The older gentleman who was struck by the vehicle was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police said Wednesday morning that it is not known whether the two incidents were connected. However, a fire department spokesman said Wednesday afternoon that it is believed that the man who was arrested for the attack on the woman is the same person involved in the car and workshop fires. The spokesman said the incident remained under investigation. So Wednesday afternoon, police confirmed an arrest has been made. So obviously this has been updated since I looked at it, but provided only limited detail in the early stages of their investigation. There's no longer a threat. The community as the sole suspect is in custody, police wrote in the news release. Officials from Carroll University, who were also alerted by police, reported on social media channels that the suspect had been taken into custody. Waukesha Police and the Waukesha Sheriff's Department confirmed they have made an arrest, but are limiting details of the incident and suspect as their investigation is very dynamic. So, there you go. It says when schools are in lockout, classes are conducted as normal, but students are not allowed outside and visitors are not allowed inside the building. Deputy Superintendent Joe Kosh wrote in the email to parents the district made the determination to put all schools on lockout. So anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. It seems that we've got an increase all across the United States in incidents of violence erupting, and I think literally people are losing it. They really seem to be. I don't know what is up with all the violence, but it doesn't seem to just be Antifa and Black Lives Matter. It just seems to be happening. I think people are on edge and they're at their breaking point. That's what I think. Anyway, all right, let's go on. We've got more. We sure do. All right, now let's look at this. This is Trump's response. Trump administration fires back at DC mayor's attempt to alter Washington Monument and other historic landmarks. Trump administration has perfect response to DC mayor's push against, well, let's take a look at this. Okay, we're going to have to read it because, hang on here. The Trump administration rejected calls Tuesday by a Washington, D.C. committee to remove, relocate, or contextualize historical statues and memorials in the city. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser tasked the District of Columbia Facilities and Commemorative Expressions Working Group to identify schools, parks, monuments, statues, and buildings named in honor of historical figures that the committee believes represent the country's racist history, Fox News reported. By publishing a plan that recommends potentially removing the Washington Monument, Christopher Columbus statue, Andrew Jackson statue, and Jefferson Memorial, among many other ludicrous recommendations, the radically liberal mayor of Washington, D.C. is repeating the same left-wing narrative used to indicate dangerous riots, demolishing our history, and destroying our great heritage, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said in a statement. Our nation's capital is rightly filled with countless markers, memorials, and statues to honor and respect the men and women who built this country. Former presidents James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, William Henry Harrison, Tyler, Zachary Taylor, and Woodrow Wilson were also included on the list of problematic historical figures. So founding father Benjamin Franklin and George Mason, telephone inventor Alexander Graham Bell, and we've read through this list before, but it says Bowser will be reviewing the report and advancing the committee's recommendations. Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt scoffed at the recommendations and tweeted his displeasure. "Not on my watch, never going to happen," he wrote. Good for him. And in her statement, McEnany said President Donald Trump felt similarly and believes these places should be preserved, not torn down, respected, not hated, and passed on for generations to come. As long as President Trump is in the White House, the mayor's irresponsible recommendations will go absolutely nowhere. Well, that is good news for all of us, and thank goodness for Donald Trump. She added that Mayor Browser ought to be ashamed for even suggesting them for consideration. White House Communications Director Alyssa Farah tweeted that she was not even sure what relocating the Washington Monument would entail. Can you imagine the nightmare that would be? Anyway, the Browser administration took down the recommendations regarding federal monuments on Tuesday night, according to the Washington Post. Statues of historical figures have become targets for Black Lives Matter protests in recent months, including a statue of Abraham Lincoln in Boston Square Park. Nothing is sacred to these people. Nothing. Not even God. All right. They hate our country and they hate God. All right, let's look at this because, and please take this seriously. Please, I am seeing this and I'm hearing this from so many sources right now. Make sure you have food put away because there is shortages coming, serious shortages. If you've ever listened to me about anything, please listen to me about this. They are saying this, even the UN is saying this. So it's coming. They've planned this, obviously. So let's look into this. This is the economic collapse. Are you prepared for the coming up economic collapse and the next Great Depression? Well, it says buy lots of food and store it someplace safe because very difficult times are approaching. Now, this is from a few days ago. It was August 31st, but it's still very pertinent. I'm going to be very blunt with you. Things have gotten quite crazy, but they're going to get even crazier. Global food supplies have already gotten tight, but they're going to get even tighter. When even the UN starts using the word biblical to describe the famine that the world is facing, that is a sign that the hour is very late. Thankfully, we are not facing famine in the short term here in the United States, but temporary shortages of certain items have already been popping up and food prices are aggressively shooting higher. And I am noticing that here in Canada. Every time I go to the grocery store, things are up maybe a quarter, 50 cents, $1 here. And it's every single time. It just keeps going up and up and up. So let me see now. Earlier today, my wife stopped by the grocery store to pick up a couple things, and one particular item that used to cost about $12 was now $20 instead. But thanks to the Federal Reserve, this is about as low as food prices are going to get. The Fed seems absolutely determined to crank up inflation, and that it's going to be very serious implications during the times that are ahead. Right now, we have a window of opportunity before the next wave of trouble comes along, and I would greatly encourage you to use this window of opportunity to buy lots of food and store it someplace safe. And my suggestion would be to get some protein, good protein sources, red beans. You can live on red beans and rice. You can live on that almost indefinitely. I know because when I was living in the Central American jungle, the Mosquito Coast, that's all I lived on, beans and rice, rice and beans, beans and rice. And I was completely healthy when I left. So anyway, and also tuna, cans of tuna, peanut butter, things like that. But thanks. Okay, let me see here. Where did okay, right now we have a window of opportunity is what they're saying. So go and, every time you go get groceries, pick up a few extra items. Like if beans are on rice, get some beans. If something else is on sale, get enough of that, a few of that. That's what I have been doing because I can't afford to go out and drop a bunch of money on preparing either. So every time I see something on sale, I won't just get a couple cans of it that I might need in the next week or so. I get, a few cans of it and a few to put away. So there you go. Some people seem to think that if they have stored up a couple months of food, that they will be just fine. Although they're saying now that's not enough. It's not enough just to have and I'm not selling food. I'm not one of those channels that is selling storable food. So I have no benefit. There's no benefit to me by telling you this. And I want you to know that, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, you need to do this, but they're all actually selling it. And, you know, but I don't have any, you know, dog in this race. So there you go. Unfortunately, that is not reality of what we are facing. The truth is that you should have enough food to feed every single person in your household for an extended period of time, and many of you will need much more than that, because when things get really crazy, many of the friends, neighbors, and extended family members that neglected to prepare will come knocking on your door asking for help. There are some people that would turn away those friends, neighbors, and extended family members, but I couldn't do that. Yes, they are at fault for refusing to get prepared, but I just couldn't turn them out into the street. And I'm like that too. I would probably be someone that would rather go hungry than see somebody that I love go hungry. Definitely. But thankfully, my parents have listened to me and are beginning to prepare. They already have food set aside for such a time as this, but they are preparing even more, because we just don't know. I know here meat prices are going through the roof, but as is most everything. Anyway, if you plan to assist if you also plan to assist those around you and are in need, that just makes your job even bigger. In the end, there's a limit to what any of us can do, and so we will do what we can with what we have, and we will leave the rest to God, and that is what we should do. The overwhelming demand that we are witnessing at food banks around the nation right now gives us some clues about what we can expect as economic conditions get even worse. In Alameda County, vehicles are lining up as early as 7 in the morning to get a little bit of food from the local food banks. So, you know, this is serious and you need to take it seriously, but I'm not sowing fear. This is what I believe. Whatever you have, do what you can with what you have, all right? Leave the rest to God. But don't just sit back and say, oh, God will take care of me, when you have the means to prepare, at least somewhat. I don't even have the space to be able to store much food. So I'm going to do what I can, and that's all I can do. And then the rest, I leave up to God and trust him. I'm not trying to sow fear at all. I'm just trying to make you understand that now is the time to prepare. So let's move down here. It says they start lining up as early as 7 in the morning, and this will run for 6 straight hours, said Altfest. Hundreds of cars slowly snake their way through the parking lot across from the Acura dealership on State 880. Folks from all walks of life, driving everything from Toyotas to BMWs to Mercedes, all coming to get food. Folks are grateful for the charity. When I read that quote from a local CBS News report, it struck me that it sounded almost exactly like what Heidi Baker said when she saw people waiting in line to get food. Not a fan of Heidi Baker, all right? I just want you to know that. She's part of that whole circle that I wrote my book about. Anyway, on the East Coast, we're seeing similar things happening. In fact, there was a quarter-mile line at the break of dawn at a food bank in Queens on Saturday. So, and I'm not going to just go on and read all this, instances of, we know that there are tough times ahead, and I think that it's prudent to prepare. We've had the damage of a lot of the corn crop and soybeans from the derecho. And we've also, there's been farmers that have had to just kill their animals because there was no processing plants to be able to take the cattle, and you can't just keep feeding them. That costs money. So they did have to euthanize a great number of the cattle and so forth. And that affects our meat availability. So it's common sense. And China, with all of their flooding, they are experiencing and going to experience even more food shortages. And apparently it's quite severe. So it's worldwide. I think worldwide, the food is insecure at this point. So if you're able to put things aside, or if you have a garden, that's a great thing as well. If you're able to keep a garden, I wish I was. I really do. Anyway, let's move on and let's see where we're at in terms of time. Well, we are over an hour at this point, an hour and 3 minutes. Let me see how much we have left. Yeah, I think we are, let me just push on here for a couple minutes and cover the next 2 items and we will be done. Also, Q has posted a great deal for today. I haven't checked recently, but I am considering covering that tomorrow because there's a lot of interesting information there that I think we could all, use. And so far, the information that Q has given us has been accurate. Now, yes, that doesn't change the fact that I feel a little bit uncomfortable. However, I am thinking of covering that tomorrow, the Q post, as well as any other news that is available as well. So let's look at this. I wanted to show you how crazy it is here in Canada. This is our health minister, and it is a female that is actually born, she was actually born a male, Chinese doctor. Wear a mask while having sex, Canada's top doctor suggests. Now that is ludicrous. When you are having sex with your loved one or your husband, your wife, your whatever, you are exchanging bodily fluids. So what difference does it make if you're wearing a mask? Hello? This is the most ridiculous thing I have ever read. And it almost makes me laugh, and it makes me think, really, is anyone going to take that advice? Come on. It's absolutely ridiculous. Ottawa Reuters, skip kissing and consider wearing a mask when having sex to protect yourself from catching the coronavirus, even though you are exchanging bodily fluids. Does that make any sense? Do these people think we are absolute idiots? Yes, they do, as a matter of fact. So anyway, Canada's chief medical officer said on Wednesday, adding that going solo remains the lowest risk sexual option in a pandemic. So I guess she's just saying, have sex with yourself unless, you want to have sex with a partner, you can wear a mask, even though you're exchanging bodily fluid. Crazy. Dr. Teresa Tam is her name. She said this in a statement: there's little chance of catching COVID-19 from semen or vaginal fluid. Well, I don't believe that. I really don't. But sexual activity, it's all in fluid. Fluid's fluid. It's in your spit. It's in, crazy. This is crazy. Anyway, like other activities during COVID-19 that involve physical closeness, there are some things you can do to minimize the risk of getting infected and spreading the virus, she said. Well, we haven't had a case in this whole region that I'm in since May, and yet we're still having to wear masks and do this ridiculous stuff. Now they're suggesting we wear a mask while having sex. Are you kidding me? All right. I guess if people are stupid enough to do that, then hey, more power to them. And the last item on our list for tonight is this by Glenn Greenwald. Nancy Pelosi flagrantly violated laws to prevent spread of COVID. Laws we've long heard were sacred and violated only by the selfish. Now she's demanding an apology from the Salon, which reported it. This is the voice of entitlement from being one of the U.S.'s richest people. Yes, and she did. Believe it or not, she blamed the Salon. It's all the Salon's fault. Oh, they set her up. My gosh, this woman is deranged. Pelosi, let me see here. Yeah, let's look at this. Pelosi addresses Monday Salon incident. I take responsibility for trusting the word of the neighborhood salon that I've been to many times. It was a setup, and I take responsibility for falling for a setup. That's not taking responsibility. That's pushing the blame onto others. That is a thinly veiled apology, which is not an apology. I think that this salon owes me an apology for setting me up. Oh, please, get over yourself, Pelosi. Really, get over yourself. We're all over you. We were over you long ago. All right, well, okay, I've got to just do one more because this is horrible and I want to make sure that it's seen and I don't forget about it later. 1-year-old killed amid night of violence in Pittsburgh. A 1-year-old. One. What a useless, senseless loss of a life. A bullet meant for someone else found its way through a window and 2 walls at an apartment complex in Spring Hill, killing a 1-year-old boy as he slept in his bed Monday night. The only good thing about that is that he probably didn't even know or feel what happened to him, but tragic. 1-year-old had his whole life in front of him. It makes me cry. It really does. It's so sad. Pittsburgh police on Tuesday morning pleaded for anyone with information about the shootout that killed Zyker Young to come forward. This is senseless. It shouldn't happen. A child laying in their bed shot by people who are intent on committing violence in our city is unacceptable, said Chief Scott Schubert, pledging that his bureau will find and hold accountable those involved in the shootout. We owe it to that baby. We owe it to their family, and we owe it to that community. This has got to end, he said, and I would agree. Anyway, I wanted to get that out there, and that is it for tonight. That is all she wrote. And tomorrow, I may bring you the Q post. In fact, I think I probably will. So there you go. Just because I know that the information is good, it's valuable information, don't necessarily trust where the end game is going with Q, but I don't know either. So let's just leave it there. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for your donations. And I appreciate you all, your comments, your funny quips, and all. I really enjoy interacting with you, and I enjoy doing this and having you join me. So thank you, guys. Keep seeking truth and come back here and seek it with me. All right, guys. Good night.